Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 18.4 Beta 4. iOS 18.4 Beta 4 is available to developers, and iOS 18.4 Public Beta 4 should be out by the time you're watching this video, or sometime tomorrow. Now, this particular update is available on all iOS 18 supported devices, including iPhone SE 3rd generation, 2nd generation, all the way up to the iPhone 16e. And this came in at a fairly large 956.3 megabytes on my 16 Pro Max and was about the same size on all the devices we have here, from the iPhone 11 to the iPad Pro M4. Now, along with this, Apple also released iPadOS 18.4 Beta 4, watchOS 11.4 Beta 4, along with all the other updates, macOS, tvOS, HomePodOS, visionOS, as well as older versions as well. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then we'll go to General, then About. As you can see, the build number is 22E5232A, and with an A at the end of the build number, we're getting very close to a final release or release candidate. We could see one more build with an A at the end like we have recently, but we are getting close to a final release. As far as new features and changes, well, we do have a modem update going from version 1.54.02 on the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max to 1.54.03. The overall build number there could vary depending on the device you have, though. As far as new features, well, it installed very fast. It also had the hello screen for some people, and they've removed a feature or an option in this one. If we go into our settings and then we go down to accessibility, then we go to touch. Under touch, if we scroll to the bottom where we have back tap, we no longer have that option where it popped down the little display or banner when we used back tap. So if I double tap here, if I double tap the back, you'll see it just opens the control center. On the last version with Beta 3, if I double tap the back, we've got a little back tap detected banner that pops down. That's been removed along with the option. I don't know why it was really necessary, but they did add it and now they've removed it. So maybe it'll come back or maybe it's gone for good. As far as other features and changes, well, it looks like this is mostly a bug fix update. We do have a lot of major features in iOS 18.4, such as notification updates. So under notifications, we now have priority notifications where we have prioritize along with all the apps we want to use it with. We have Apple Intelligence in more countries and languages, as well as new ambient music options in the control center. So we have those here. If we want to use those, just go ahead and play those. And those are really nice to use when you're working in the background, and you'll see it here. So it will play, but there's not a separate app for it. We also have visual intelligence buttons here. They've brought visual intelligence to the control center, or you can assign it to the action button now. And there's also new shortcuts and new emoji. So quite a few new things here. I also did get a new banner here that apparently was in previous betas, but I never saw it, and it has to do with the new Apple Vision Pro app. So if we go into Photos, I took a screenshot. You can see here it says, check out new updates. Apple Vision Pro app has an update. Discover new content now. Now, again, some people have seen this before, but this was the first time I saw it was on this update, and I do have a Vision Pro. As far as other updates, well, they sort of go along with Vision Pro. We have the Metallica Immersive Concert. It's about a 20-minute or so concert. It's really great, and it's something I wish we'd see with more artists. It's something worth experiencing, and it's something I wish Apple would bring more and more to Apple Vision Pro. They also announced some arcade games coming soon. And on Apple's newsroom website, I talked about this in the weekend follow-up video. We'll have Katamari Damacy very soon on April 3rd. And if we scroll down, there's quite a few others, and the one I'm most excited for is Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic Plus. So these are all sort of releasing soon, along with the Game of Life 2 Plus and some others. So I'll link this in the description below, and they announced it last week. As far as bug fixes, well, it looks like notifications seem to be fixed. If I go into them, you can see there's a ton of them here. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can tap on it and scroll up, show less, and it seems to be working. Now, I have seen some people say it's not working properly, but it looks like it's nice and smooth for me. Micro stutters are gone, included on older devices as well, at least so far. Sometimes it takes a few days for these to show up, but if I go into music, give it a second to load here, they're on the iPhone 11 a little bit, but maybe that's because that's the first time I opened it. If we go into maybe weather, this is Mercury weather. This is Apple's stock weather app, and you can see things are smooth. So the micro stutters, at least on the 16 Pro Max, are not there. Maybe after a little bit, they'll go away on the 11, it seems, but mostly it's fairly smooth. As far as the release notes, where there's quite a few of those, if we go back over, go into the public-facing release notes here, And you'll see as we scroll through, many of these things were in the Beta 3 release notes, but there's a few others that they've added. So you'll see the Apple Vision Pro app, known issues, where on iOS 18.4 Beta 1, the Apple Vision Pro app launches with a black screen if downloaded from the App Store. The workaround is be on Beta 2 or later and delete and reinstall the app. If we scroll down, you'll see many of the same ones that were there before, but we have resolved issues for things such as Siri, notifications. If we scroll down, additional things for developers, Swift UI, system calls, we have a new feature there, and a few other resolved issues with Wi-Fi calling. Again, that was in the Beta 3 release notes. But Apple is working to make this the best possible. However, there are focuses on other products at this point, it seems. As far as anything else, CarPlay will take a few days to know if it's fixed. I use this regularly with CarPlay, and with Beta 3 it would disconnect or pause sometimes. It was sort of an odd experience, and some people were experiencing that as well. And there's other odd bugs here and there. So hopefully the camera bug is fixed, where it opens up, it's no longer a blank screen, particularly from the lock screen. If you sort of slide in, a lot of the time it wouldn't work properly. It seems like it's working now, but we'll have to wait and see. As far as releases, well, we are getting very close to a public release. Based on what we've had at least the past couple of weeks, I would expect iOS 18.4 Beta 5 or RC as soon as the 24th. In the past couple versions, Apple has had a couple versions with an A at the end of the build number, so we could see that with Beta 5, then an RC on the 31st, and maybe a public release as soon as the 7th. Apple said it was releasing in April, but we could see it sometime in that week as well. We don't have a specific date just yet, but we can expect it pretty soon. Now, we also could see the WWDC25 invites go out as soon as next week. Based on what we had last year, it was in the last week of March or so, around the 26th, and then we had WWDC announced for June last year, June 10th. This year, I would expect it to be on June 9th. Then we'll see iOS 19 with macOS 16 and all of the others, watchOS 12, and I'm expecting huge changes with iOS 19. I've talked about this in other videos, and it looks like iOS 19 is finally going to get a redesign, and maybe that's why we've seen so many bugs with iOS 18. They're just focused on a whole new operating system. So we'll have to wait and see if that's a much better experience. Hopefully it is, but at this point, it's only a couple months away or a few months away. As far as the overall performance, well, I mentioned that a little bit already. You can see that here again on the iPhone 11. We're both running Beta 4 on this. If we go to the app library and scroll, ProMotion seems to be nice and smooth, especially on the 16 Pro Max. Again, it's going to be a little bit stuttery on an older device or slower, but it seems to be okay overall. If we go into things such as the camera, which would be critical if you're trying to capture a photo, hopefully it's better. I had it completely crash while I was recording a video with Beta 3, but you'll see it opens nice and fast at least, and it seems to be working as you would expect. Going into things such as settings, or just going throughout the OS seems to be fine and fast and smooth. Very smooth according to some people. When it comes to the overall heat, it seems to be staying nice and cool. Despite it installing over the air on this device, it's nice and cool on the back, a little bit warm as it's finishing processing in the background, but in general, nice and cool. Let me show you with the thermal camera, as many have asked for that. So with iOS 18.4 Beta 4 and the hottest point, we're at 31.6 degrees Celsius or so, and I'll put the Fahrenheit here as well, but it's pretty cool overall considering it just installed a major update, and it seems like it's holding up well. I would expect it to stay nice and cool in the future compared to what I've seen. This cooled down much faster than before. As far as overall battery life and battery health, well, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll go into battery health first, and you'll see I'm at 100% capacity with 148 cycles. If we take a look at the last 10 days here, I didn't have the greatest battery life on Beta 3. You'll see only 1 hour and 45 minutes of screen active time, 8 hours and 25 minutes of screen idle time, using 50% of my battery. The day before, I used about 80% and had 3 hours and 23 minutes. Today, though, 3 hours and 9 minutes with 4 hours and 19 minutes of screen idle time, installing an update, and I'm still at 55%. I haven't plugged it in at all, and you'll see it was last charged this morning at 9:18. It was at 100%, and it's been a few hours. So it's doing much better so far. Hopefully it improves over the next few days, as that was an area it was lacking. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 18.4 Beta 4, if you're on Beta 3 or earlier, absolutely install it so you can provide feedback and see if anything's resolved for you, and then report it to Apple if you're having some issues that aren't already listed. If you're on iOS 18.3.2 or earlier, I probably wouldn't install it at this point. You could try it out, but if you're trying to solve any bugs, I wouldn't try out a beta for that reason. I would wait for the release candidate or the public betas if you wanted to try it. As far as benchmarks, I did run those, so we'll take a look in Geekbench 6. I ran it a few times as the initial benchmarks were low. That typically happens when you install a new update, and it is better though than what we had with the previous update. So you'll see it scored 3,487 for single core, 8,490 for multi-core. When I first installed this update, it was a little bit lower. It improved over time, and we'll talk about that on the weekend follow-up video. We'll also talk about battery and other things. Now, if you found anything else in this particular update, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.